Today's episode has been brought to you by Schedulicity.
Hello and welcome to the Connected Yoga Teacher podcast. I'm your host, Shannon. I'm a mom of 3, a yoga teacher, and a trainer and consultant who works for yoga teachers. And this podcast was created for you so that you can connect to the information and inspiration every single week and feel supported as you navigate being a yoga teacher and an entrepreneur. Now, when I say each and every week, some of you may have noticed that last week there was not a regular podcast episode. I have been releasing podcast episodes for 3 years now, and that is the first time that has ever happened. And that's why I really wanted to take some time today to talk about the importance of taking a break. Now, last week was unplanned. For those of you on my email list, you'll know that my grandfather passed away, and I told my team, I can't get an episode to you, and all of them supported me 100%. I want to share with you today how I usually bake things into my business so that I can take a break and not miss a beat. Sometimes this isn't possible. I have heard from a lot of yoga teachers in the last month who are feeling so overwhelmed, tired, and uninspired. And if that is you right now, or if you feel that coming on, or if you want to be prepared for if that happens, then let's plan today to take a break together. And before you think, oh no, I can't, I'm too busy, I need to skip this episode, rest assured, we are going to take a mini break together today and then talk about how we can build this up into our yoga business. So right now, whether you're standing, sitting, walking, or driving, I'd like to take a mini break where we notice our breath. So notice your breath right now. Is it shallow? Did you just take a breath because I mentioned it? Notice without judgment. Notice the pause between the inhale and the exhale. What happens when that breath switches? And is there a tiny pause where it's neither an inhale or an exhale? Maybe take a look around. What are some things that you see around you right now? If you have been sitting and looking at a computer, see if you can look out the window or look across the room. If you're driving, this is a great time to look a little further forward. Keep your eyes on the road though. We can take a mini break when we're outside walking, when we've been working on our computer, when we're driving. And I actually have an app that I'll tell you about a little bit later in today's episode that helps to remind me to take a mini break. And if that tiny mini break felt good to you, here's another idea for a break that we can take together. So if you are listening to this episode, you could go outside for a walk. You could lay down on the floor and move around a little bit if you haven't been doing that. If you've been sitting, you can come to standing. If you're driving your car, maybe it's time to pull over to a nice little park and go for a walk. And before I dive right in, I want to tell you about a company that is helping us right now. Our sponsor, Schedulicity, just released some news that they are actually taking a break from charging us until September the 1st now. So when the coronavirus pandemic first hit the entire world, Schedulicity stepped forward and paused all payments. And then they did it again. They extended it, and they've just done it again. And they said that they really want to help out our businesses, and they've paused payments until September the 1st. So let's hear our hot tip of the week from the amazing team over at Schedulicity.
Hello, Connected Yoga Teachers. This is Eric with the Schedulicity Hot Tip of the Week. Some tools for small business entrepreneurs expect you to be ready for everything the second you sign up. But just like improving fitness and flexibility, building a business can take time. If you're ruling the world or just moonlighting on the side, you can select only the options you actually need and use. We also make it easy to schedule personal time. Once your schedule is set up, you can add personal time in just a few clicks to block off lunch breaks, coffee breaks, last-minute errands, or time for self-care. Any break you need, anytime you need it.
Thank you so much, Team Schedulicity. For those of you who are wondering, what is Schedulicity? If you are a North American yoga teacher, you can use this online scheduling software. I've been using this software for over 9 years, and I have to tell you, this is one of the main ways that I schedule my breaks in. Or on the flip side, it's where I schedule my work days so that I have breaks. I'd like to first start today by asking you, are you feeling like you need a break today? Have you been feeling overwhelmed? We had a great episode on brownout, burnout, and another one on compassion fatigue. I'll make sure to link to those in the show notes. And in summary, when we are out there and we are serving as yoga teachers, it's really amazing when we can feel like we've filled our cup up and now we're ready to pour out to others and serve others. And there are times when myself, I've experienced this. I don't know any yoga teacher or small business owner that hasn't dealt with this. You sometimes drag yourself to go and teach that class, or you just feel like, oh gosh, I just wish I had nothing booked today. One other thing you might notice is that you're putting something off over and over again instead of just digging in. And sometimes then we need a break. And this can feel like the opposite of what we want to do. When we know that we have to, do our email, reply to all of our emails, the last thing we want to do is walk away from the email. It doesn't make sense really, but productivity-wise, we actually do better when we have these breaks. So ask yourself, am I starting to feel overwhelmed? If the answer is no, let's start to check in and see, do I have breaks built in so that I can avoid this? Or have I made a plan where if I had to take a break, I could? The next thing I want you to ask yourself is, how long of a break do I need right now? Is it 2 minutes? Is it 2 days? Do I need 2 weeks off? 2 months? And as I say those larger periods of time, do you start to panic and think, there's no way I could take 2 weeks off? And I would really start to question you at that point. Most businesses, if you work for someone else, will allow you to take a certain number of days or weeks off. I see a lot of entrepreneurs, and I know this within myself, that it is harder to take breaks because we are thinking about our businesses all the time. But if we can make those breaks part of our routine, part of our schedule, it really offers us something. And it also serves our yoga students and the people that we work with. So if you were thinking that taking a break was selfish, let's scrap that thought. Taking a break really serves your business. It serves the people that you work with, and it serves you. It's a win-win. So we'll check in here about how long of a break do you need. If you told me I only need a 2-minute break and then I'm going to get all of this stuff done, I want to ask you, can you plan a 2-day break? Can you do that on a regular basis? Can you have 2 days off in a row on a regular basis? And I work with some yoga teachers who tell me, no, I can't. That's impossible. I teach Saturday and Sunday. Those are my busiest days. Okay. Can you take Monday and Tuesday off? If you tell me I can't take 2 days off, let's start with 2 hours then. Let's find the time that feels comfortable for you. And then once you find that time and you're like, okay, I can take 2 minutes, I'd want to say to you, all right, let's stretch it a little bit further. Can we take 20 minutes? Here's a great example. Are you taking a lunch break? And if so, how long is your lunch break? Does it feel like you can sit down, prepare your food, enjoy your time, look out the window, not think about work? And if you've gotten into the habit of working through your lunch hour, that's all right. Maybe that's the place to start. That's the break you need. So this will be really individual, and you might even just think about it for a little bit. When do I start to really slow down? So if it's in the afternoon and you just feel like I'd rather nap than finish this last bit of work, that might be a great time for a break. I think it's really important to note that we want to build these into our daily routines or our seasonal routine or our weekly routine. And there are 2 episodes that come to mind when thinking of building a habit or a routine. Episode 123 with James Clear, who's the author of Atomic Habits, is the very first one that comes to mind. I would start there if you're thinking, I can't do this. I can't add one more thing to my day. And also episode 122 with Amber De La Garza, where we talked about productivity, and episode 96, How to Create a Yoga Practice Habit with Matt Kowald. And I want to talk about this for a minute and tell you why this one is in the list. I've been seeing posts in our Connected Yoga Teacher Facebook group. If you're not already a member, come on over and join us there. There are some great discussions happening in there. And there have been a few threads lately about teachers feeling uninspired and not motivated to go and teach, or feeling like when they go to teach, it's lacking. That's a great time to take a break. It's also a great time to turn around and look at your own yoga practice. Has that fallen away? And many yoga teachers I've been talking with lately have told me I was attending live classes. Maybe they attended some on Zoom, and then they got tired of looking at a computer screen. So I would say start with 2 minutes near the beginning of your day or where it fits in really well, where your yoga practice used to fit in. Find 2 minutes to roll on the floor. If you're telling me right now, I don't have that, do it while you listen to this podcast episode. So this is one of the things that I have done in the past when I've gotten away from my yoga practice is I will listen to a podcast that I want to listen to and do my yoga practice at the same time. And I realize this goes away from a lot of the mindfulness that we're trying to find, but it's like I have to almost bribe myself back to that routine, back to that break. And it doesn't take long to do it. I'll tell myself, okay, if you get to your yoga mat today, you get to listen to this podcast. And then it slowly builds into this habit. I realize, oh, right, I love my yoga because of the way it makes me feel. The next thing I want to check in for is, are you planning for a break? So like I said, I just experienced a death in the family and I knew it was coming, but it has been a tough go to even do the work as my grandfather was in hospice. The focus really switched towards my family, and I'm okay with that. My team's okay with that. And I really feel like my listeners will understand. And this is a key piece. So your yoga students, your friends and family, and the people who love and support you are going to understand when you hit a point where you have to take a break and you haven't planned it all out. For those of you who teach yoga, when you need to take a break and you need to step back and it happens in a hurry, you can't always get a sub. Or your students say, you know what, you take a break, we'll be here when you come back. We don't want to take yoga from a sub. So there are times when we cannot plan for a break. And I am all for making a plan. So I like to have my social media posts scheduled, the podcast scheduled. I like to be ahead of the game for my team, for everyone. It just gives a real peace of mind. And that's going to be my goal in the next week, is to build that library back up for my team, get ahead with our episodes again. And I've talked in previous episodes that this is how I work best, when I batch things together. But I do want to say that with every great plan, we cannot account for everything that's going to come at us. So give yourself some grace, make the plan. But if you're feeling like I need a break right now, this might not be the time to build that up and make that plan. In hindsight, here's one thing that I really wish that I did in this planning phase. I really wish that I made an email autoresponder, because I put one together, I think, the day that my grandfather had passed away. And I had wanted to look at a template, and I think I copied and pasted it there. I'm not even sure what it looked like. It went out for a day or two saying, due to a death in the family, I wouldn't be replying to emails. But I was already in the place of loss and grieving, and this was not the time to write that template, this auto respond that would go out to everyone who sent me an email. In hindsight now, I realize that I need to have a few templates for autoresponders that can go up pretty quickly. So if I think about my lunch break, okay, I don't need an autoresponder for my lunch break. If there's a crisis, and we all just went through and are in, if you're listening in real time, a pandemic. So I've gotten a lot of your amazing autoresponders, connected yoga teachers, that talk about how you either have time off or classes have moved online or you're taking a break. And I think that's a nice thing just to check in with people, especially if your email starts to become overwhelming. It's a nice idea to look at an autoresponder. So think about if there was a time of crisis, I like to hope for the best, plan for the worst. That's the type of person I am. I'm optimistic, but I also really love to have a plan. So we look at the times of crisis, the pandemic. Maybe we need to care for our family. A lot of you are telling me that you don't have childcare right now. Maybe there's a death in the family. Another great example is what happened with Black Lives Matter. A lot of people took a pause that week. So how can we plan ahead? And also, how can we have grace with ourselves when we don't plan ahead perfectly? I'd also like you to think about your vacation time. So if you do not have any vacation time blocked off in your calendar, I really want to challenge you on that. First of all, are you taking 2 days off in a week? If you're not doing that, that'll be your quote unquote vacation time. Start there. If you have 2 days off a week, then where is your vacation time? And by vacation time, I mean unplugged from everything, from social media that has to do with your business, from email, from teaching, where you can literally close your computer and walk away for an amount of time. Each and every summer, I really like to plan July and August as very lean work times because I like to be out in the garden. Usually we go camping. That's when the kids would be off school. And I found myself this year questioning, can I take a break over summer? Which is silly. I can still take a break over the summer. The reason why I was questioning that is because everything has changed. I cannot book a campsite at this time and go camping in the way that I wanted to. So also check in when it's tempting, when things get thrown off. If it's tempting or if you notice that your vacation time kind of got put aside. That's going to be my challenge. In the next few weeks, I'm going to really take a look at my vacation time. One thing that helps me, and I said this near the beginning of today's episode, is that I schedule my time off in Schedulicity. So I love this feature. There's like a little settings thing, and I can tell Schedulicity, here are the weeks that I'm working, and then here I have a break. So I can adjust my schedule, and no one can book with me in the times that I've booked off. Another good way to use this muscle, if you have an online scheduling software or a Google Calendar, is to mark time off. Mark that white space. Some people call it white space on your calendar. Even though you don't have something planned that day, plan to do nothing and then fill it in later on. Fill it in closer to the time. Another break that I've been working on lately is my end of day. So I'm really great about usually starting work at 9 a.m. I feel like I can do my morning routine, hang out with my family, have my breakfast, sometimes go out to the garden before 9 a.m. But my end of day is very hard for me. This is because my kids are older. When my kids were younger, they'd get off the bus and my end of day was, around 3 or 4 o'clock for sure. And I know that I made it work back then. So I've been challenging myself lately, and my mastermind group, the two Amandas and Mado, have been really helpful for this as well. And Amanda McKinney said to me, Shannon, you don't have to do this overnight and all at once, because I wanted to work from 9 to 4. So work from 9 to noon, take a 1-hour lunch break, and work from 1 to 4. So 3 hours in the morning and 3 hours in the afternoon. And I was clipping along pretty well, and then I had to take a training and do something else that evening, and work had kind of all piled up. And that's when Amanda McKinney said to me, you know what? try and do this for 2 days the first week and then 3 days the next week. So again, we can make these plans for a break, and we also have to be gentle with ourselves and not always let ourselves off the hook. There's this fine balance. Keep working with it just like you would a really challenging yoga pose or a new flow, a new movement in our body. Try it on and keep working on it. Another break that I love to take is with this Rest app. So I will put a link in the show notes to it. I think I paid for it, and I know that it's very much worth it. So when my computer restarts, the Rest app is at the top bar, and I'm sure there are tons of apps that you could get for your computer or your phone. What I love about this one is it lets me know that a break is coming up, like every 30 minutes, and it asks me to do a movement or a stretch or to look outside. So you can really change the settings with the app as well and break for as long as you'd like to. There's a lot of science behind taking a break and either moving from sit to stand or stand to sit, and also looking away from your computer and looking at things that are further in the distance. And I definitely, without this app, would not do it. So when the app goes off, I also have the option to pause or to take the break right then. And I thought at first that I would really dislike this for, let's say, when I'm right in the middle of something that I'm doing. But I actually know that the break helps me to sit there for a moment, mull over my thoughts, maybe move around, and then come back to it fresh. One big thing to note is when I'm recording a podcast, when I'm meeting with a yoga teacher in a consultation call, or I'm doing a podcast interview with someone, I definitely pause it because I don't want it. It fills up my entire screen and tells me to take a break. So I have this little checklist of things that I pause, things that I don't want any notifications or noises when I'm doing work like that on my computer. So now I would like to ask you, connected yoga teachers, I've gone through a list of different breaks, different reasons why we would take a break, permission to take a break, giving you permission. And I'd love to hear from you. What feels right for you right now? Is it a really short break? Are you going to plan in some breaks while you're working? Or are you looking at a longer break or maybe a weekend off? I would love to hear from you in our Facebook group. So if you go to theconnectedyogateacher.com, you can see the join button right on our homepage if you haven't already joined our Facebook group. And let our connected yoga teachers know that you had to listen to this episode and you are taking a break, and here's what it's going to look like. Just announcing that, just saying that out loud to other people in a post in our Facebook group can help you to hold that intention and be accountable. Also, tag me in it. I would love to read if you are taking a break and if this episode has inspired you. Or maybe you already had a break planned in, or you've learned some trick that really works for you. I'd love to also see that in there. I want to send a huge shout out of thank you, Connected Yoga Teacher listener. Today's episode and every single podcast episode is possible because you show up to listen. Also, a huge thank you to our team, Suzanne, Crunch, Nick, and Sinead, who have really held down the fort for weeks on end here as I support my family, and for making so many things work smoothly. The Connected Yoga Teacher group, also our podcast, and many other things. Alrighty, Connected Yoga Teachers, I'm going to sign off. And before I do, I want to know what you will be doing this week to stay connected to yourself, your yoga practice, and to your community. And this might mean by taking a break so that you can share the yoga that lights you up.